Live. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Wolf. Happy Monday. Oh my gosh, not 2 p.m. Eastern. It's 11 a.m. Eastern. We're starting off the week with a Wolf Bitcoin trading stream. We're doing trading, market talk, all the same stuff you guys are used to. We're doing on stream. We're bringing together the traders. We got Tony on stage. We got Popeye. We got Bad Price, Dom, Steve, and Bits right now. Might have another couple joining. I can't remember who's supposed to be scheduled for this show, but I'm super stoked to have these guys. A lot of them will be sharing screen. Tony's even sharing his actual face. This is a big day to be alive. I can't wait to get into it. We'll do a quick little, we're going to do like round robin, super fast. Keep the takes under 30 seconds-ish. I just want to give a quick take on what kind of trader you are and, the years you've been in the markets, plus like the assets you trade. Just something very simple, small, just so the people have a little bit of context before we go in. And yeah, maybe we can make this a killer one. So I'll go to Tony first.
Hey everybody, thanks for having me as always. So I've been doing this for about 8 years now. Mostly around crypto. Over the past, say, 5, I've branched out into traditional markets, especially metals. I'm more of a high time frame investor / trader, but then I also do a lot of like day trading with leverage and things like that. So a mix. I tend to keep like my longer term spot holdings. Those are like the longer term plays, and then I'll trade Bitcoin and whatever's hot, been trending during the week on derivatives.
Very nice. Very nice. Love it. Popeye, over to you.
Yeah, I'm trading since 5-6 years. I think I'm full-time 2 years and a half. And I like to trade like water, so I really try to adapt to what the market has to give me. But generally, I like to use ranges a lot because it gives me clarity. And I like to keep a very simple system, so pure price action and using as less indicator or data as possible because of my low IQ, so I can process too much data.
Amazing. Bad Price. Over to you next.
Yeah, I like what Popeye said. Trade like water. That sounds good. No, I trade all markets. A lot of scalping, a lot of swing trading. I do a lot of trading around positions. So building a core position and then, hedging against that and pretty much trading around that position. It's probably the best way for me to sum it up.
Yeah, and people are going to get a look at these charts, which I'm very excited for. Dom, over to you next, sir. How are you?
Good, man. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I've been in the market since 2017 and, evolved my style a lot over the years, but now I really focus on swing trading. And, my core stack is really watching the order books and watching important levels and using VWAPs to kind of find confluence in between those. And that's kind of really my bread and butter now, and a little bit of order flow terms, kind of like, what price looks at, who's aggressing where, what exchanges have a lot of, pressure on the books, whether it's spot perps, and kind of looking at that dynamic has been pretty well for me.
Beautiful. Very nice. Steve, over to you, and then we'll finish off with the legendary Bits of Wealth.
With the legend Bits, best for last, eh?
Oh, yes, as always.
Yeah, I've probably been in the market a little less than most of these people here. I started around 2019, 2020, and so around 5, almost 6 years right now trading. I'm more of a swing term trader, so I try to enter like, let's say, around 5 trades a month. More relaxing, try to touch grass, do some stuff on the side, keep trading more of like a side job, but even though it's my full-time job. But pretty much it for me. I trade more liquidity, psychology, try to enter when other people's stop losses are,
Makes sense. Hey, that's the way. And we got Bits, the guy who's buying all of Steve's bags and providing all this liquidity for the putt-putts. Bits, over to you.
When Steve sells the bottom, I like to buy it up. So,
Oh.
all right. We're already starting off.
Where's the laughing emoji?
This is gonna be tough. We're gonna have to make some.
There's no emojis on here,
on the
man.
fly. There's got to be somewhere. Hold on. All right, go ahead.
That's funny. No, good morning, guys. It's these streams are always fun, so I'm excited to kind of kick these off and kind of turn these into a little bit of yeah, I know, Octavio, I know.
It's gonna happen 1 year. Everyone's
maybe next year I'll go back. Hey, I wasn't always what's the word? I was more doxed previously in the past, but I kind of go back and forth between it. But I got into the crypto markets. It was probably about early mid 17. Primarily, it was just really focused on BTC. Did a lot of buying at the top and realized I knew nothing about how these charts moved. And so I spent the latter part of 2018 and all of 2019 pretty much just about as deep in trading education as you can go. I mean, I was putting in the hours. If I wasn't at work, if I wasn't with the fam, I was in front of the charts. And so I focused on it for about a year and a half, almost 2 years. And I've been able to scale it and get myself to a position where I can now do this on my terms, as much as I want or as little as I want.
Let's go.
And but I am a pretty intense guy. Like, usually when I get into something, like, for me, things that I enjoy aren't work, as they say, right? So it's very easy for me to just kind of go all in when I have something that I love. And trading for me is something that I love. I just really enjoy it. I would say it's the equivalent of a similar type of like rush or high that people get from like video games or from other things like that. Because to me, it's mentally stimulating, and it's like a challenge or a puzzle that I'm like trying to solve. So it's very fun, but you meet incredible people, like everyone on here on this stage, and all the other people that we've met through this. So, but yeah, as far as my trade style, I kind of fluctuate between being a kind of midterm swing trader to getting a little bit more active in like day trades, just depending on market conditions. When the markets are ranging very nicely, I like to play the ranges, and when they're trending, well, then you kind of just buy and hold and you wait. You're a little more patient. So, but yeah, mainly crypto, and I am dabbling in U.S. markets, stocks, futures, stuff like that. So yeah,
let's go, dude. It's a little bit of everything. And for everyone who's listening in at home, just wanted to give a brief introduction to the squad who's pulling up. A lot of these are basically everyone here is coming from the spaces. And so if you're in the audio shows, that's where all these folks are coming from, because we've seen them a million times. And now we're doing the stream. And yeah, man, yesterday, I agree with you. Yesterday I posted a thing and I was just like, so crazy. Like we've all met Popeye literally from boats in Europe. And we're like, he just comes in once a week and we vibe. Tony calls in. Like, everyone's just calling from different places of the world, and everyone has this one commonality. And even in this commonality, a lot of us see the exact same things in the charts, since that's the coolest part here. So the idea here is just run through the charts. We'll try and keep these takes. 2-3 minutes is probably the longest we can do on these takes, even with the charts, just for this first one. So let's aim for that in these takes here. But just like a normal take, if you're looking at Bitcoin, if that's the main you're looking at, if it's Litecoin you're looking at, if it's a certain trade you want to pull up, whatever you want to focus on, I'd like to do a few rounds. And so we don't have to just do like one take and then that's the whole thing for the show. I want to have a good amount of back and forth here. And so that's kind of the idea. I'll go to Tony first. Pull some charts here, see what kind of things you're seeing in the markets, what things you're paying attention to. And then we'll work around, around the panel here a little bit. So, Tony, is this the screen you're looking to do, the white one here?
Yes, sir. So right now, we can see the weekly close last night was kind of like a hammer candlestick. This was an evening star pattern that I was watching. So an evening star pattern is a 3 candlestick structure. It's the up candle, the doji, and the down candle. Now, what you're looking for this sort of pattern is you want to see the black candlestick close below the 50% point here on this white candlestick. That's the sell trigger. So the sell trigger was activated. That said, though, we did hold above the Bollinger Band basis. This gives this chart a slight bullish setup. And the reason why I call this out is, to me, this is the most important signal in all of crypto right now that I'm watching. So the Bollinger Bands are a volatility visualization tool. It shows you, when there's a lot of volatility, the bands expand. When there's low volatility, they tighten. Well, if you kind of look back just on a light visual inspection, since the bottom in late 2022, we are the tightest ever. So, we got tight here, we got tight here. Both were, you could see the tightness. They were big moves. It's kind of kicks off a more of a trending move. So this tightness here is a big deal. But when you go back even further, this is the tightest the Bollinger Bands have ever been in the weekly for Bitcoin USD history. So basically what I'm getting at is something big is coming, and, it doesn't matter to me really all that much about other signals right now on any other time frame. This is the one I'm watching, because if for some reason we hold at this basis line and we get a strong breakout above this upper band, this would be a buy signal according to the Bollinger Bands used as a trading system. And more than likely, we would get some type of sizable, explosive, trending type move. Maybe it's the last wave up in, Bitcoin's parabolic advance that we haven't quite got yet. But volatility, I mean, this tool really just tells us that volatility is low, and then it's going to kind of cycle back towards high volatility. It doesn't tell us the direction, although we do have this slight bullish bias here being above the basis line. For some reason, we get down here, we could see a big collapse in Bitcoin instead. So yeah, this is a really big one for me. Kind of what I'm watching all around. See, and I put together another chart here with some channels that I have going on. And, we're kind of falling out of this uptrend channel. This may have been some type of a retest here. We do get that evening star pattern. We got the tightest BB squeeze. I think so if we break down, I think there's some possibility we could kind of head down here, maybe not as fast or anything like that. But yeah, I think that, the built up sort of volatility, the fact that we've been in an uptrend for a couple years, 3 years at this point, the trend is starting to kind of lose its momentum, and I see some, a road for it to go down. But just as easily, if we can make it back up in this uptrend channel, Japanese candlestick patterns, even though we kind of reached this sell trigger here, the confirmation comes in the next 3 to 5 candles. So we'd have to see more downside for this to be confirmed. If we, so there's still an opportunity for bulls to kind of bring this back in the uptrend channel. And, we could even make another run towards the top of the uptrend channel, which is at this point over $200,000. So, anything's possible. We were looking at maybe like a 50% drop, a little bit more than that if we go down. If we go up, though, we're going to do another like 80% move or something like that. So, yeah, it's a very interesting risk reward setup right now.
Wow. I saw this post too, by the way, Tony. I'm sure you got some heat for it, right?
I get heat for every time I post it. Well, I mean, I'm totally the bull. And so if I post something bearish, they hate me. But no, all good, man. So when I approach anything, I actually look for both a bullish and bearish thesis. And then depending on what the technicals and indicators say across the various time frames, then I'll start to sort of make my decision on which direction I think it will go. But I am always looking in both directions. So I'm posting a little bit more bearish content right now because I'm really, I'm the type of guy who likes to help people. It may not come off that way, but like, when everybody's uber bullish, I kind of want to like open people's eyes a little bit and say, well, there's this going on here. Maybe you should kind of be a little bit cautious. I'm always promoting caution over, just YOLO longs. And so that, that's really where I'm at. Like I said, I do see scenarios where this can go up. This was, again, holding above the Bollinger Band base is nice. If we can just kind of explode off that bounce and we'll be good. If not, we could have an explosive move down.
Interesting stuff. All right. I love this. All right, cool. So, and by the way, for the traders, like obviously if there's something that Tony says or anyone else says, you can go off of it or bounce off, or we can pull back up and stuff like that. So very cool stuff. Bollinger Bands. That's a great place to start. I love it. Popeye, let's go to you next. Let's see if we can pull up your screen here. I see it. We'll hop over to Mr. Popeye, see what kind of things he's seeing in the market as well. Appreciate that, Tony.
But I'm trying to keep it really simple. And,
sure. Yeah, all good.
Price is consolidating most of the time. So 80-70% of the price of any asset, but especially Bitcoin, is going sideways. So the result of this sideways price action is very telling on my view. And basically all the consolidation we had in Bitcoin since 2023 resulted in a breakout to the above. So as you can see, all this consolidation is broken to the above. And the resulting breakout, so the uptrend that is created after all this breakout has been just a consequence of this accumulation that we had on this phase. So I think here we are, let's say I got confluence on the level of Tony, even using a different system. I think here we are really at a key level, because what we don't want to see is this current consolidation we are having here since July should not turn to be a bearish deviation back in this old range we have been trading for many months, starting from December, November last year. So as long as I see consolidation breaking to the above, I assume or I consider them as a accumulation, and accumulation are usually followed by expansion. So we are still in the, according to the level I get with simple tools like the fixed range volume profile, we are still in the in the area of a bullish retest of a flipped level. So as long as we hold above this value area high of this massive range we are here, I'm simply lowering my Q and expecting that this was an accumulation, and here we will have potential an expansion. I would adapt my bias and succumb to what the market is giving in the moment that this value area high is broken and we deviate back inside this range, as it would be a very strong sign, because as I was saying at the beginning, if we zoom out, it would be the first time since 2023 that a range has been deviated to the above and not below, as we saw earlier, not deviation below and then break above to the other side, deviation below, break above, and moving to the outside, to the upside, as you see also here, deviation below and then break above. If I see a deviation on the top, then I have to assume that mid-range or point of control or range low and value area low are next. So for me, so far so good, but a very important area is to hold this 108, 109, 107 level, because if we deviate back below, I would probably turn pretty bearish, at least for some time.
Wow. I love that. And also love the take there about the 80% of the time we are trading sideways. That's for all assets, Popeye?
Many assets, yeah. Then you have to proportionally consider that whenever there is a long, if you see here, it's very clear. That's why I like this part about considering accumulation and distribution schematics. The longer the accumulation, the stronger the move that is following. No, as you can see, this was one of the longest consolidation we had in Bitcoin, from February 2024 until October, November 2024. And then when we broke out from this level, we move 70K to 108K. So almost 40K of a move. So always try to apply to this consolidation, to this accumulation or distribution, whatever they are, a proportionality approach. So as you know, this was the bear market that ended up being a massive accumulation. And you see that when we broke out from this accumulation phase, now we know it's an accumulation because price moved from 33K to 125K. But because this accumulation was a very long time, from May 2022 until October 2023, where market maker, whales, institution, call them however, the boogeyman or whatever you want to call them, at the time to do all this business and to accumulate as much as they want. And the proportional expansion phase or uptrend phase was clearly in the same proportion than what we have seen here. So whenever I would start to see the opposite happening, that's why I'm saying, according to my system, I would start to be worried. So somehow this accumulation here ended up, this sideways price action here ended up being a clear distribution because we started to break down and move down. Similarly to this consolidation we are here, when you start to break down from ranges, consolidation, sideways price action, my, again, very low IQ read on the market is I have to assume it's a distribution. If it's a distribution are followed by a proportional downtrend until something change. So if it change and we deviate back above again, you play the same game. How long was the manipulation below, and so and so. Then we can enter more into details in the more local price action. But I think this is the macro view I have in this level. And to resonate with what Tony was saying, different system, but confluence of the level, this is a key level. If we bounce from here, it's probably is a very good sign. If we break down below here, it's time to press some red buttons.
Yeah. Oh boy. All right, dude, I love that. Let's head over to, let's jump to, let's see what screens pull up next. I think Dom's screen is next. So I'll just pull his up here. Dom, over to you, sir. I'd love to get some of your thoughts. You have any comments on the previous takes, or if you want to pull up something of your own.
Totally. Yeah, I think Popeye really nailed a super simple, but I think constructive thing that I've been looking at myself. You know, he talked a lot about how we've had deviations below kind of each of these pushes higher over the last, year and a half. And That is exactly what I'm seeing, just in a simpler way. Like, if we look at any time we've had a resistance here, we've kind of retested that and never came back. That's been the pattern, should we say, of the entire cycle. We could see each time a resistance was broken, whatever we want to call it, it was retested and it wasn't lost. Similar right there, perfect retest, similar right there. And kind of like what he was saying,
Oh, wow.
if you invert this, he was kind of talking about this being a potential deviation, and just a different way to say that. If Bitcoin loses this area right here where we had those previous resistance touches, that arguably is the first step back that we've seen this entire cycle. Because if we look at this pattern here, it's kind of just like a staircase concept. And this is kind of like the base level analysis, but it can be super powerful. And it's like, when you're in an uptrending structure, you don't want to lose previous resistance. And I think that's kind of the simplest way that I've been viewing this market right here is, if Bitcoin were to lose this 105 to 107 and like actually trade up below it, not just a little fake out, like a straight trade below, that arguably is the first step back that we've seen this entire cycle. And
wow.
That's what I'm watching here pretty closely. And I think this move that we've had here on the shorter term, this is its chance, in my opinion, to really continue this, should we say, bullish structure. Because anything below this, I think it's hard for bulls to make at least a midterm bullish argument that we wouldn't revisit 90s, maybe even 80s or 70s. So I think that's my simple view on Bitcoin. And if we look at, the 12-month rolling VWAP and the 50-week moving average, those have been historically super useful signs of, should we say, a bear trend started. And we have a little bit more time to, before we hit those levels. But I know Bits has talked about this before, and we all know, as we move lower, it's easier to say that a top was in, but it's like each stage you kind of have to put up your probability that a top might be in. And for me, losing this first level here would kind of jump that probability, and losing these two levels would jump it a lot higher, of course. But, it's not too useful to say when Bitcoin's at 70K, a top might be in when our top was at 120. So that's just what I'm watching there on Bitcoin. And I guess one other thing I'll mention here with Ethereum, if I have this other chart, it's a pretty similar view. If I could, let me see if I could have this pull up here. But essentially, Ethereum, in my opinion, is at a very similar point in terms of, it's not at the same level Bitcoin is, but, you look on a high time frame here on Ethereum, and we've been stuck under this resistance, say at 37 to about 4K for many years, all the bear market. And we just regained that. And we could see here on this weekly, we're kind of retesting that, similar to what we tried to do in 2021. And in my opinion, just like with Bitcoin, if we lose this level, it is very hard to make a bullish midterm argument. And I think that this would be the point where structure changes, and, trading below this would probably send us back down to about 3K, if not lower. So I think as of right now, we're kind of on that edge where, the majors, at least, they're kind of looking over the edge to say, okay, am I going to keep my structure intact here? And if not, I think that, there's a lot of warning signs that the next few months or next 6 months or however long, could be a bearish trend. So I think we're really on the edge there. And I think my simple view here, I could go a lot more in detail, but I think this really proves the point that I'm feeling here, that we're kind of on the edge, and Bitcoin and Ethereum are two good examples that losing these levels, I think, it's a major structural step back, should I say. So those are my overarching thoughts.
That is actually kind of crazy. There's multiple now points from multiple. And by the way, guys, we can just look at the market talk space. So if you want to chime in or jump in or offer a quick take, comments, opinion, whatever on someone else's take while they're going, all good. You can just kind of jump in.
I think, Dom, what do you think? But the main difference is that big displacement, imbalance, or refugee, or whatever you want to call it, in Ethereum that is not present in Bitcoin. I mean, if you see that level you mapped on the chart of Ethereum, you can see that below it's really no man's land for a while. While at least in Bitcoin, that level, because we have that very huge displacement, that huge green weekly candle from 1,800 up to 4K. While in Bitcoin there was a little bit more price action. So the Ethereum chart is, at least for me, a bit more scary if we lose that level. But still, we are at support, and support is support until it's not.
Very nice. Awesome. I didn't know if anyone else wants to jump in, so we'll. Well, I was gonna have to Steve, but Steve, I have your screen pulled up here. The thing is, you are not available, and I think somehow you may have added your screen and removed yourself because I can't go to you or pull up your screen now that I think about it. Because let me see if I can pull this up actually. Wait, whose screen do I pull? I have Dom's screen pulled up. My bad. I remove this one and add Steve. Steve, can you hear me? All right. Wait, hold on. Here we go.
I don't know what I did.
There we go. There we go. My bad. All right, Steve is back. What's going on, Steve?
Oh, okay. We're good. All right.
Yeah. It disconnected, but now you're back with us, and I think I have your screen pulled up now. So I think we're good to go. Okay, go ahead.
All right. Well, it's Bits here because it's not a Steve shoe if it's not an I told you so. You know that
Bits is here.
It's Bits here. It's not a Steve shoe. It's not an I told you so. Anyways, as far as I go like mid time frame, one thing I always do chart wise, again, I always chart with a naked chart. Some indicators I use is the EMA and an MVRV, pretty much it. And as far as other indicators I would look at, I really trade candlesticks because I think the market obviously moves in liquidity. You're trying to hunt the market's trying to hunt the most stop losses it could to move in a certain direction. That's usually the way it goes with the way I've been trading the market for the last 3 years or so. And right now, one thing that I'm seeing, I think everyone's pretty much spot on as far as Dom, Tony, and Popeye. I think we're all kind of looking at the same thing. If we were to lose that 108 level, that 106 level, we will get that first break of structure we had this entire cycle. One thing I was always talking about for many, many times again, I really only use like EMA bands, MVRVs really, and our bullish structure really is maintaining over this 50 weekly EMA, and it really maintained us this entire bull market since 2023. As you can see, we got that breakout, came up, retested again. Everyone called recession around 74K when we remained purely intact on the 50 MA, and our 50 MA right now is resting around 98. One thing I always talk about though, we have a lot of super cycle talk, a lot of 4-year cycle talk. For me personally, I'm still in camp for the 4-year cycle. I don't think we have any reasoning to believe in the super cycle at any point in time. As far as the last 3 years have been, like for example, we saw that cycle bottom with 4-year cycle behavior coming in at 15K, and people didn't believe in the 4-year cycle then when it played out perfectly. And right now we're kind of seeing some weakness in the high time frame for the first time in a while, and it's still playing out in that 4-year cycle behavior. So everything's kind of playing out intact. So as far as the market pumping yesterday, one thing I always talk about, well, that we started talking about recently, is that Bitcoin paired to XAU charts. One reasoning I was kind of even leaning more a little bit bullish that we could maybe even see 125K. Again, MVRV is pretty valuable as an indicator of mine. As you can see, MVRV kind of marked some bottoms. Last time we were in this undervalued section, it was a 15K Bitcoin. And last time we were in this undervalued 2018, we saw 3K Bitcoin. And ever since then, we marked a bear market bottom here, and we're approaching really undervalued in terms of Bitcoin outperformance or underperformance compared to gold. So we're getting that underperformance right now. We're nearing that buying signal that I'm constantly staring at. And obviously that others each chart, that altcoins, another undervalued signal that constantly shows like some type of historical signal. Last time we came here again, 2023, we saw these alts pump. We saw like, let's say for Injective run $1 to $40 last time we were in this support. In 2021, we saw Sandbox running 50x. Last time we were in this support, and right now we're in this support again.
Sandbox.
Yeah, yeah. Remember 2021? Now, those are the days.
Yeah,
those are the days. Yeah. But pretty much, yeah, we're seeing a lot of undervalued indicators across the market. So that's one thing I'm kind of looking for to see if we're going to see some type of bottoming. It's also another reason why I have a long right now on XRP. Around 269 is a really nice long I call right now. Sitting at, I have a break-even stop loss on this, but I took some profits as well. But again, one thing I trade is liquidity-wise. And when I'm looking at daily time frame, we see these candlesticks that have no appearance of liquidity being filled. I would love to see at least like a 320 XRP get filled at least. But any flip of structure of this would make me signal some type of all-time high movement. But as long as we remain around here and see some consolidation and rounding off, the liquidity will be fully taken to the upside. So that's one thing I'm kind of looking at to see if we're going to see some roundness and then see that daily 50 MA break structure ruin us on the daily time frame. So again, let's say for EMA wise, the daily 50 MA kind of like rejected us many times before at 103K. We saw 1, 2, 3, like 8 rejections here. And then when we broke above, we saw a retest, fake out under, retest, and then we saw a break, retest above, and now we're kind of seeing that downtrend kind of round off. So I know that's one thing even Calvin and Lady Trader look at, that 50 MA. So we're trying to see right now if this 50 MA is going to continue rejecting lower or not. So that's one thing I'm also looking at. And another thing, as far as my bearish thesis, one thing that I was able to spot Ethereum at 1400 was, again, that MVRV marking undervalued extremely. When we came down here, and last time we were here was at the $900 Ethereum, we came down at 1400, was a perfect buying signal, purely undervalued. And we hit extremely overvalued on Ethereum at 4,700. A lot of people were calling alt season everything, but we're in more of a selling signal than a top, So more than a selling signal than a buying signal. So right now we're seeing that round off. We're seeing 4,900 all the way down to 3,850. We're seeing some green candles, possible deviation, like Dom was saying, that support flip to resistance. That's resistance flip to support. My mistake. And we see possibly some deviation come in, maybe a round off for us to send a little higher. But if we get a break under this, I don't see much. Again, like Popeye said, I think we're in no man's land until my next support, which would be our, again, support flip to demand around that 3K level. 2,500 would be one, and then 3K would be my next. Would be one of these supports that I would look at next, to be honest, if we see a break under this. But other than that, it's definitely more of a cautious time to be around, more of a hedge time to be around. If you're in longs, I'm like, of course, in my XRP long, I'm taking profits on this whole way up. Weekly chart has a lot of wicks to the downside, so it's definitely more of a cautious time, and it's more of a like make or break time. But one chart that I'm constantly looking at is like how undervalued Bitcoin is compared to gold. Like the underperformance is insane, and we're nearing the most undervalued we've ever been since the bear market bottom at 15K. So that's one thing I'm kind of looking at if crypto's going to start outperforming gold. So that's one thing I'm looking at, the high time frame, really. Pretty much it for me, yeah.
Very cool. And I saw even Jim Cramer tweeted. He said it's time to buy crypto, and he tweeted a picture of the U.S. debt. I was like, brother, buying crypto will not fix that. Buying Bitcoin might fix that potentially, but buying crypto is you buying Tron is not going to help us fix the debt problem. But this is cool. I was actually going to ask Tony. I'm not sure if you use any of the indicators like the MRV. I don't know if you use that, or like he was talking about Calvin. They're looking at the 50-week and stuff like that. I'm curious if you have any. I'd love to get some comments from you before we head over to the other panelists.
Yeah, no. So I use them. I've definitely looked at the MVRV score before on Bitcoin and other assets, but I need to pay a lot more attention to it. That was a really great presentation by Steve. Yeah, that was. I definitely see some strong correlations there when it's marking over undervalued levels. It's definitely a time to buy. It's one of the interesting things. I mean, I've looked at it a lot for Bitcoin in particular, more for trying to kind of pick the cyclical top. And, I don't, to me, it hasn't been working well for that, but it's clearly working well for other things. So I got to put that in the repertoire a little bit more. I do use moving averages and things like that, a little bit different time frames than what some of the other people here are using. But yeah, I definitely, I'm the type of guy, I try to look at absolutely every tool out there and factor it into my decision making. I obviously weight a few things a little bit more highly based on my familiarity and success with those.
Yeah, totally.
It's like Bits was saying, Cade, like on one of our spaces this week. Even though we're all experienced traders, all of us, we're all still students for all time, forever. We're all trying to learn, and there's always stuff to adapt in our trading abilities. Whether you're a 10-year, 30-year trader, there's always stuff to be putting into your system. But as far as all of us go, like even Tony, like let's say he's just seeing that MVRV, we all have different ways of trading. But all of us kind of, especially in this panel, we're all kind of aligned on that same analysis, which is something I always bring up. There's always different ways of trading, different indicators, but we're all somewhat aligned on the same type of levels that we look at. So again, I find that the most interesting part of trading. Everyone has a different style, but yet everyone kind of sees those same levels,
Agreed. I think it's the coolest thing. I think it's the coolest thing ever. We take it for granted, I think, on our space. Well, we don't, actually. I think we do a good job being hyped about that. But I don't think agreed. Let me pull up go to Bits of Wealth here. Before I do, if for everyone who's watching back at home, if you haven't already, please do retweet the stream, this is installment 1 of the Market Talk live trading streams. We're gonna, after the stream, we'll figure out what worked, what didn't work, what we want to change, what we don't want to change. And so if you guys have any suggestions as well, please let us know in the comments. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe. If you're on X, please give us a follow. Please retweet. I've tagged everyone in the stream right above our faces too. So please give them a follow and check out the things they're looking at. And right before I jump over to Bits, I also want to give a big shout out to Ostium, as always, for sponsoring the Market Talk shows. Figured we'll try my best to give them a proper shill here on the stream as well. For people who have not seen the actual platforms, Ostium, obviously Bitcoin is ripped, and so that was nice to see. But you can trade any and all assets here. You can see all the different options on the left panel, whether you want to trade Forex, the indices, the Mag 7, you want to trade crypto, they're all here. And it's really, really easy to use. And on the right side, you can see you can use leverage, very quick and easy. And you can have your stop loss, take profits. It is very easy to use. It's a really cool platform. Highly recommend you guys check out Ostium. Use code WolfB, I think, is now. If it doesn't, if code WolfB doesn't work, use code WolfC. Flo told me he changed it. I don't know if this is true, but the rebrand was necessary, and I think we're good to go. So again, it's in the tweet down below us. Check out Ostium, and let us know what you guys think. Otherwise, I want to bounce over to Mr. Bits and get some thoughts from him and see where he's at with everything. Bits, let me pull up your screen here. GM, and again, anyone who wants to jump in or offer some comments, thoughts, or talk some you can always feel free to chime in. But Bits, the mic is yours.
Yo, it seems like changing your code on Ostium to just Wolf would be the easiest thing, though.
Yeah, but, that's a good point, actually.
Maybe I'm keeping it too simple there. I don't know.
No, that's a good point. I like that. I'm gonna tell Flo right now. Actually, let's yeah, good call.
So I'll start with this here. This
funny.
is Bitcoin over gold, and it's funny because I've been talking about BTC over gold for probably I don't know. This is probably since late 2023 is when I really started tracking it regularly and looking at it every day. But it's been quite an interesting chart, and I think if you keep it pretty simple, and if you're just looking at this was back in 17, 18. This was the tops from 2021. And then this has been our current bull market here. What's interesting is historically, when Bitcoin's been outperforming the US dollar, it's also been outperforming gold. These have been pretty confluent in that sense. You had the same type of blow off top. You had the same type of double top back in 2021. There wasn't a lot of divergence between Bitcoin over gold and Bitcoin over USD. But this time there has been. Bitcoin over gold looks totally different than Bitcoin over USD. And if you're keeping it really simple and you're just looking at general trending structure, I put the little warning sign and the little eyes here because this should be a warning to us. I don't think it's necessarily saying that anything is broken yet, but the fact that, from the lows of April through August, it seems that we've put in a lower high. It should be at least, a sign of caution for us. So we're watching this, obviously, as long as you're holding this swing low here, there's nothing structurally broken about this just yet. But this already just starts to it should raise some flags and it should ask, lead us to ask why are we putting in a lower high here if we're going into, the most bullish quarter for Bitcoin or for crypto as a whole. So this is an interesting chart that I just like to reference. I like to look at BTC over gold and just say, okay, what's BTC over gold doing? So the other one you can look at is also total crypto market cap over gold, which is also doing the same thing, right? So, but this one's even more interesting because if you're looking at total crypto market cap over gold, you can see we never even got above the 2021 highs. We got nowhere near them, right? So technically crypto as a whole is actually underperforming against gold since 2021 actually. So pretty interesting chart to look at. Wow. This right here looks very telling. If we get a move down that then comes down here to kind of challenge this this neckline or this base, if you will, will be very interesting to see what happens there. But yeah, this chart is just so different that it just leads me to ask why. And this is where I actually think that North Star brings up a lot of great points where he talks about that gold is doing something that it had not done in a long time, which is it's going into a full-blown bull market, right? We spent a long time where that was kind of the ceiling, and then even when you got above that, you were kind of ranging here as like your range highs, and it has not looked back. It just has not looked back. It's gone on an absolute run. And that's what's different this time compared to, back in 2021 when Bitcoin was able to outperform it, and even back in 17, 18 when Bitcoin was able to outperform it. Gold was kind of at its bear market lows, if you will. So this is what's changed, right? And I think it's important to look at it, even though I'm not really trading based on the gold pairs. I do use it as kind of like a compass for the health of the market, and it begs the question, right? Like, should we have been more exposed to gold than to crypto after this blow off top back here, right? The data says yes, we would have been better off if we were more exposed to gold than to BTC, so or crypto as a whole. So I don't know. I'm keeping it pretty simple. I like to label these sometimes just for the sake of like it helps break any kind of bias. It just centers you a little bit, and it just helps you really identify like what's important on a higher time frame. And this is about as simple as it gets. It's also I'd say it's pretty key that we probably maintain above that if we're going to stay bullish. Like at some point we want to get above that. Otherwise, we just got some deviations to the upside, like we've been talking about. We've been talking about deviations on the stream here. So this potentially could be just that. So just something to look at. Also, total chart on its own, if you remove the gold denomination and you just look at total, on the monthly chart, I made a post about this yesterday, but I don't know if this is bullish continuation structure. I mean, I'd ask anyone who could argue that it is to tell me why they think that that's bullish continuation structure. Typically when you see those kind of tops, I mean, there seems to be a pattern as to where you get that really wicky action to the upside, and it's not at bottoms, and it's not at points on the chart where we're going to go significantly higher. So let's see what happens. Could it be a case of this though, right? Where this candle still has an opportunity to kind of do something like that and invalidate everything? Sure, but we've got a day and 9 hours to do it. So,
oh boy, I saw Joe Carlos about that. He said, by Tuesday, if we can get the highest monthly close of all time, it'd be sick. Yeah. But if we don't, it's not gonna be
exactly. So, like, look, can it do it? Yes, but time is not on the side of crypto at the moment.
We gotta keep the stream open, bit. If we just keep the stream open,
if we keep it open, it's like a pump fund stream or something. If we're all watching it,
we should have been doing
live. But this was the weekly level I was watching, and man, we wicked below it, but we didn't. We were able to kind of pull back up and did not lose on the weekly either. So I mean, so far it's okay. It's not looking great. Monthly does not look great. Weekly it's looking fine. But let's see what happens. I mean, right now, those are like the key levels that I'm really watching, and it's just the key structure I'm focusing on. Very simple, something very basic. Like we can get a lot more into the weeds here.
Well, I think it's perfect because like Tony, I'm gonna pull Tony's screen real quick because Tony also had a couple things here on gold to poke into, and then we'll hit price. But Tony, I know you wanted to comment on some of the Bitcoin or some of the gold stuff.
Yeah, it's just a good follow up to what Bits was saying about the dollar. Well, Bitcoin's performance against the dollar and gold being pretty much the same all throughout history. And so what I have here is the Bitcoin versus gold chart in candlesticks, and then I have Bitcoin against the dollar with this green line chart behind. And you can see at the bottom, the FTX bottom over here, we started to really kind of diverge in terms of performance. And then for a while there, I was really sort of thinking like, is some of Bitcoin's strength truly dollar weakness? And like, should we be pricing things more in gold? I was really happy to see Bits point out that this over here was a lower high. So clearly, an uptrend is higher lows, lower, higher highs, higher, lower. What am I going? Higher highs and higher lows. I always get that. And moving to a lower high, if we get this lower low, I mean, we're technically in a downtrend. So very interesting in terms of this Bitcoin versus gold chart. Now, a lot of my analysis and stuff is the result of like discussing with other analysts, and another analyst had come to me and talked about the Bitcoin versus gold chart. Now I also do a lot of Elliott wave counts and things like that. And for Elliott wave counts to work and fit, they have to follow certain things. They have to, for example, meet a lot of Fibonacci ratios and things like that. There's certain rules and guidelines. And what another analyst had pointed out to me is, so previously I had this counted as a 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. But on the gold chart versus Bitcoin, you can't count this one as a 1 and then this a 4, because 4 cannot enter the price territory of wave 1. So clearly I'm dealing with something different. Now it follows this channel really nicely, and at this point we're starting to fall out of this channel. But this lower high is significant. So I was always of the mindset we were going to top out right around here in January in Bitcoin. I had pretty much staked my whole entire reputation on it and was really pushing that back in January, February. We got a higher high on the USD pair. But if we're really to look at the gold, Bitcoin price against gold, I absolutely nailed this top. I don't really care about that. It wasn't for a clout thing. It was really just to like test my skill set and things like that. I can't take this as a win just because it's on the gold chart, but clearly something was up in this area technically. We got the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves up on this particular uptrend, satisfying a complete move in the market. And what I found really interesting was the length of time between of the wave 2 correction and then this sideways wave 4 correction. So there's a rule and guideline of alternation in Elliott wave, and essentially you get a sharp correction that is simple, and it was only 14 months long. This is a lot more complex and sideways. As you can see, the wave 4 sort of termination point ended right at this sort of area of where wave 3 ended. So this fits really well. Regular simple corrections are ABCs, complex corrections are WXYs or WXYZs. So, and then when you throw in this sort of cyclical rhythm here, you can see that, things bottomed during significant bottoms in terms of this. We topped pretty, close to the crest here. We topped again pretty close to the crest here. I have some sine waves here thrown on the stochastic momentum index, and it's showing us, the tops were right at the complete.
Wow, look at that.
And it's starting to potentially roll down. And if that's the case, we could even be going into some type of a bear market, and it could end.
Tell them, Tony, it's a bear super cycle, extended bear market super cycle could last.
It's crazy how much these line up. Actually, like it is crazy,
like, bizarrely. And there's definitely a lot to it. So this would suggest that we're starting to enter into a more corrective phase. We have all these other corrective phase sort of lining up here. And then another thing I found, throwing in some moving averages, I noticed we're right up against this particular average, and this was really like the capitulation point on all of our biggest sort of breakdowns. So, this, again, we have that built up energy in the Bollinger Bands and all those things that I talked about earlier. So to me, I do see even more of a recipe for some type of move down. And if we take this out, telling the market that we made a lower low here, and we're now potentially moving into a downtrend, I don't know what ultimately happens there. So, really interesting in terms of the gold against Bitcoin chart. And then the total 3 is another one I looked at, and I noticed that we potentially, we made, again, lower high over here from this one, and then we made, a low here and a higher low here, lower high here. And it happened to retest this particular uptrend line. So, momentum here is starting to turn down and strengthen. This is the start of what looks like an evening star pattern. And, we could really see things start to drop in the coming days or weeks on the gold terms. So again, I don't know 100% what that means. Is gold going to, become some sort of monetary standard again? Is the dollar I don't know. All these things are just speculation. And that's my favorite part of financial markets, is speculating, especially in the crypto space. But just like Bit said, it's really difficult to ignore that something may not be going on when you're seeing in charts like this turn. And, especially from the standpoint, any other time that we rolled before, it really did lead to a bear market. So, I'm overall uncomfortable with Bitcoin.
It's a good word to use, Tony. I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That's a good word to use.
Yeah. I mean, we should be uncomfortable anyways with all the volatility and everything else in crypto, but it takes something like this to make me a little uncomfortable. But yeah, interesting times. And I think it's a wise move to just even consider the implications of this and compare it against, the USD chart as well.
Yeah. Great points there. I love this. I wanted to jump over to Price and get some thoughts. Price, if you want to offer any comments on what we just talked about, or if you have your own analysis or any live trades you're in, any of the sorts, I'll pass the mic to you. Like you said earlier in the stream, we're saving the best for last. And you guys already know, if you're in the stream, if you haven't already reposted, it's a big miss on your part because we got Mr. Bad Price coming through. He's taking us through the trenches. I don't know if he's been in any active trades the last 12 hours, but I would bet the farm on it because OTG exists. And I know that he has his contacts. So Price, I'd love to hear if you have any thoughts on the bigs, on the small caps. I'd love to hear it all.
Yeah, so, I think Tony might like what I'm about to say, but
oh boy.
Yeah, I'm in Bitcoin long, despite what I'm about to say. I'm in a Bitcoin long right now from like 109.5. That's doing pretty well, pretty high leverage.
Hey, that's the best way to be wrong though, Price, right? Is like you want to be wrong and make money being wrong, dude.
True.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no doubt. Well, okay, so let me break this down, right? I like everyone's overview. Great job on everybody's part. And I think it's good that I went last here, because let's kind of like look under the surface of the market, right? Like, so Kate, if you remember back, we did a stream with me, you, and Calvin, and this was, I forget, back in December or something like that. I was kind of talking about correction down to possibly 75K-ish areas where I was looking. And I kind of showed you like, my thought here. Okay, so just going to go through some time frames. So this is money flow, top panel. Underneath that's momentum, right? And I got a million indicators and all kinds of stuff for different trade setups, right? But this is pretty much the basis, the foundation of like everything, everything else kind of stems off this, right? So back then you can see money flow started to trend down and momentum started to put in bearish divergences. So in other words, we're putting in lower highs, right? Back in December, started to see the cracks, and then bam, right here, like they say, a trigger wave or a lower high coming off, what looked pretty flush out to the upside. And then we just, boom, came down, right? Again, money flow was trending down. Momentum was printing lower highs. Came right down to that 75K area. So right now, kind of seeing about the same thing in a way, right? Lower time frames definitely do look a bit better, but are starting to look a bit better. But again, when I look at lower time frames and I'm seeing stuff like, momentum's putting in a higher low, that's just kind of telling me we're about to bounce in the short term, even though the higher time frames, the longer terms, still we're starting to see some cracks, right? So again, here we are, right? Like prices continue to move higher, but we're just putting in like lower highs on momentum, right? Money flow, same thing. So this is a 2-day. If you go to the daily, you can probably, see it a bit better. Here's the correction down to 75K. Same thing on the daily. Money flow, boom, just started trending down. Momentum just started printing lower highs. Off this divergence, off that, down we came. Let's go to the 2-month, just go through some of these time frames. Not too much data here. Again, you can just see, where we're going with momentum here. Kick it to the monthly. Again, also not a lot. But you can see momentum's coming down. Just continuously printing lower highs, right?
Yeah.
And even though price went up, even though price is going up, money flows trending down.
What do you guys think if we do it's price? If we do have that monthly, the highest monthly close ever, like Bits was saying, in a couple hours or in like a day, if we do have that happen, does this give us a totally different trajectory?
You always have the highest monthly closes at tops. Show me one top that didn't have the highest monthly close.
So why are all the bulls saying this is good if this has been historically terrible?
I don't know who's all saying that.
all the non-traders, I will admit, none of the traders.
Yes. So again, here's 2 weeks. We cut the time frame in half again. 2 weeks, right? Let's look at momentum. Putting in divergences, right? So even though price is moving higher, momentum continues to print lower highs, right? That's not sustainable. Like, it's not sustainable. Now, I'm not saying we couldn't have, a final push up, expansion to the upside, like Tony was talking about earlier, kicking it off, like an upper band walk on that weekly, because you can see, even though we've been momentum's printing lower highs, price continues to climb. So we could still continue to climb. We could so momentum could start like curving off here, come back up, and we print in another lower high, and as that happens, we could have an expansion up, and this would probably be like the game over, if that happens. So these can last for a minute, especially, when you look on the higher time frames, right? Like these divergences between price and momentum and price and money flow. But again, it's not sustainable, right? Like money flow starting to look, I don't know. It's actually starting to look a bit toppy here. Yeah. The weekly is starting to look a bit better. That was it. The weekly, it is starting to look a bit better on the money flow. But again, we go to the weekly and it's just painting the same picture. Where we continue to print these divergences, these lower highs on, momentum. So with money flow trending down, momentum printing these divergences, we're starting to see the cracks. I'll go down, let me see. Let's do like the 12-hour so you can see like it is. It is starting to look a bit better on the lower time frames, right? Like money flow, we're getting this little leg up. Momentum, we're printing bullish divergences here. So, we could see higher still, but overall, we're starting to see the cracks.
Yeah, I'm about to fire off a great tweet. This is perfect. Let me know what you guys think. I quote tweeted the stream with not a quote direct from you guys, but about the general feel. I think I'm gathering. Now, this might not be fully accurate, but I think it will do well, at least as a normal tweet. I said, the traders have spoken. Likely, we have 4-year cycles playing out. Possibly have lengthening cycles, slightly less likely with all the indicators. Because this is fascinating, because it's basically like every single thing that I've heard from the macro guys that could potentially be lined up as bullish. Unless we, like Price is saying, unless we see this thing continue up, every single one of those indicators is actually not bullish. That is intense. Yeah. That's intensely scary to me, because that's the recipe for a top. I mean, that is quite literally the recipe for a top. Every single macro is saying, I think this is the one. I'm really starting to see it now, because this is
here's one thing,
or we're all wrong. I mean, which is certainly a possibility. We're all looking at the same thing, and we all have the wrong take on it. It could happen. So there could be a white swan thing that invalidates everything, right?
That's true.
Well, if you look at my like the wave trend indicator, pretty much the bottom panel shows like overbought, oversold. If you look on like this is the daily, right? We're not up here in like real overbought territory yet. So, I'm just saying, like, this could come up. We could go higher. We could also continue to print, bearish divergences on the way up on the higher time frames. Yeah. So
nice.
all my point is it's not sustainable. Like when I talked about this back in what was it, like December again, with you and Calvin, I was pretty much saying and showing the same thing. Like, look, money flow is starting to trend down. We're seeing bearish divergences on momentum. And the market needs a correction. It needs a flush out. And we got that. We got the correction. We got the flush out. And as you can see, the indicator started to turn. Momentum started to print higher lows. Higher lows, right? Yeah, higher lows.
Yeah. We got thrown off now. We're all thrown off with the higher lows.
Yeah, higher lows right here. And and then we took this leg up, you know, and now here we are again. Like, okay, we're on the upside. Momentum's printing bearish divergences, et cetera, et cetera. So
all right,
rinse and repeat, man. Rinse and repeat.
Dude, I just had a big aha moment though.
Let me pull yours up.
It's no. That's not. It's not even about my chart. It's
Well, I can still pull it up if you want.
We're basically all saying like one thing, and Steve is really the only one on the other side because Steve's analysis.
What are you talking about?
No.
Here we go.
No, in terms of the MVRV,
Steve's buying the top. Is that
No. I'm just saying, and I'm not. This is not a jab at Steve in any way. I'm just saying it's interesting because Steve, like with his MVRV analysis, some of those are showing like bottoming signals, right? They're showing like opportunities, whereas a lot of the other stuff that we focused on today is showing overextension or exhaustion, right? So it's interesting. Like I think me and Tony, our gold pairing charts we're focused on, at least, and maybe that's the key, right? Is we're focused on the signs that are showing that exhaustion or potential ending of a trend, whereas like Steve focused on, okay, where could the opportunity be coming up, right? And so I think it'll be interesting. It's like maybe this is going to be another Steve called it moment where his MVRV strategy. No, I'm serious. I'm dead serious. Like, what if? Because it was interesting. There is correlation. You can't deny that it's approaching levels that you only saw with that strategy during bear market lows. So that'll be very interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I wanted to stress the point. Like, what I'm saying is I am seeing the cracks, right? Like we are seeing the cracks in this market.
Right.
But again, these kind of divergences, it's like if like I used to use the stochastic, I still use the stochastic RSI, all that. But a lot with trading options, and like one of the best options traders, I've ever met in my life to this day, would, talk about this. Like, look, that stochastic can be overheated, for a long time, right? That just means like there's a lot of strength in the market. So he would play like shorter dated kind of options when the stochastic was really like up there and kind of cooking, right? But still, it's not sustainable. At some point, it's going to come down. But these kind of divergences, they can, take a minute to kind of play out, especially on those higher time frames. So yeah, I'm just saying we're seeing the cracks, and we both could be right. Like, we could see an expansion, a last expansion kind of up. And, if the momentum's, if the momentum prints a lower high, continues to trend down, if those don't turn, right, then it could be the last one. That's why I've been saying for the past like month or so that I've entered more of the protecting my profits kind of stage. Because to me, everything I'm seeing is like, okay, we're kind of long in the tooth, late game here. If you've been in real early, then you've done very well. And it's like, to me, it's time to protect profits, and I'll still leverage trade kind of around it. But, you got to make up your mind if you're trying to squeeze every last drop out of this.
Yeah,
I think like even
Steve, do you want to chime in? Do you have any quick comments you want to throw in there?
Yeah.
On anything Bit said? If not, happy to jump over to Dom. I have his screen pulled up here as well.
Oh, do you hear me? Is my mic good?
All good. Dom, would love to pass you the mic and get some of your thoughts. Do you have any comments on the current conversation or So you got the Russell 2000 pulled up here. I know you had some of the spaghetti charts pulled up a few minutes ago, but would love to ask you the mic.
Definitely, yeah. I just wanted to say that I agree that, if I look at this from like a third person perspective, kind of looking at everybody's analysis, it is kind of echoing the same thoughts as like Bit said. Maybe we are, looking at the same data, but honestly, I think we're all looking at it in a little bit different ways. And I think the thing that's interesting, and I think that the overall story is true, that there are a lot of high time frame signals that are, potentially telling us that over the last 2.5 years, the strength is starting to weaken. And I wanted to pull this chart up because to me, this was a very interesting thing that, I've watched for at least 1.5 years. And this is the Russell 2000. And essentially, it's had like a perfect pattern here over the last, I don't know, almost 20 years. And what it's done is it's basically put in like 2 rejections, as we can see, and then it would have a breakout. And it's done this multiple times. And the interesting part is if we like lay over Bitcoin, and let me see if I can put this on a log scale here. We lay over Bitcoin and we kind of look at the correlation there. What's interesting is like each time that we had, a breakout in this Russell 2000, it kind of coincided with like the last strong leg in Bitcoin. And we could see here, this is 2016, similar concept. This was kind of like mid-cycle, so this happened a little bit earlier, but exact same concept. The Russell 2000 having like that third break, because I have these 1-2s on here. When it had that third break, it's like it's always coincided with Bitcoin's strong push. And why I think that's interesting is because if we look where we're at right now, the Russell 2000 has that exact same signature that it's had for the past 20 years. And it's had 2 rejections, and look where we're at right now. I mean, it put in an all-time high, I think 1.5 weeks ago, and we're kind of struggling right there. But I think that this kind of adds to, Tony, everybody's view that, Bitcoin Gold might have showed the first sign that, yeah, a top might be putting in value terms. But I think that this chart right here supports the potential that we could see a strong move over the next 2 months if this Russell 2000 were to put in, an expansive move. So I think I just wanted to share that because to me, this chart really tells a story. And I guess for the Russell 2000 to put in a triple top, that would be never seen before. And for the Russell 2000 to go in all-time high and crypto not follow would also never be seen before. So I wanted just to add that. And then, I've shared this chart if I could, actually, I can't pull it up over here, but like if the 4-year cycle is going to, play out, we technically have 30 to 50 days left. And I think that could add to this view that, if Bitcoin were to see a stronger move higher, the altcoins, maybe Bitcoin Gold doesn't put in an all-time high. It's very, very possible that is topped. We could go close to it, but you could still look back and say that's kind of like the first divergence because, we could always have like a double touch divergence or whatever. And that's like, it's not always going to give you the exact top, but it kind of gives you a warning sign, like maybe a stage before the actual, event. So that's really what I'm going to be keeping my close eyes on. I think this Russell 2000, the history is very hard to deny. And, if this does see a breakout here, I would believe that the crypto market will see a little something. Because you've
talked about this before, the Russell 2000. You brought this up multiple times in our past streams.
Yeah, I totally have. I guess just it's more important now because of the place that we're at right here. It's such an interesting point.
Everything's still in a bullish structure too, right? Yeah. Like when we go across these charts, you know, the structure's still there. So
absolutely.
Yo, look at the Russell over gold though. Tony might like that one actually.
You haven't pulled up right now, Bits, by chance?
Yeah, I haven't done any marking on it though. It's just the chart.
That's what I was looking.
But it is interesting though that we're basically coming back to this little pocket here where this was what was this 2009 2010 somewhere back then. So we're basically coming back and like doing a little bit of a retest of this little pocket here. So yeah, that'll be interesting. Like, can it find a bounce here against gold, or is this gonna break structure and maybe something else is happening here? But
wow,
yeah, this is interesting though. Dude, we're just in a period where like everything's bleeding against gold. Like, and that's where North Star. I mean, he's basically been telling us that for at least a year on the spaces. And honestly, he's been posting about that on his page for a lot longer than that, just saying that when gold really had that breakout, when it would finally start moving, that everything was going to reprice and revalue against gold. So
dude,
it's
that is
interesting,
so
man.
true.
And that's the one, I think that's the one key thing that we have to all kind of consider is when we're looking at all of our crypto charts and all the different things that we've talked about today. I would say the one variable that has changed is that we're in an environment where gold is in a bull market against just about everything, and we had not seen that. Like in Bitcoin's entire existence, gold had not been performing the way it is, right? So even for that, even for like the base argument for BTC, which is that it's this hedge against the broken monetary system and all that stuff. Well, we hadn't seen it in an environment where the actual true hedge that's existed for hundreds of years, which is gold, was telling us that something was wrong. And now it is. And we're finally seeing how BTC performs in an environment where gold is basically, waving the flag and saying, hey, man, something's broken here. Something's not right. That's the environment that we're in right now. So I don't know. This is going to be the test. Like I like how Tony overlaid those two, and it was really easy to see where they started to kind of diverge a little bit in trend. I guess the ask is BTC needs to show up and kind of bridge that gap between its US dollar value and its gold paired value, and show us that that it is going to move like gold. So the other thing is, I was going to say, I'm very surprised. Hey, no one on here brought up M2 money supply global charts. That seems to be the trend on CT. Money supply is going up.
I don't see many traders pulling those up. Not many traders.
Let me overfit a chart real quick to push a narrative here with it. Well,
hey, we're all gonna go to the moon. All right, let them post M2. It's clear as day that this thing is a crystal ball.
Is that going to be the joke though? Like, are we going to look back and be like, you guys remember for like a year and a half or whatever that everyone was saying M2, and it's like, did we bookmark all those guys?
I mean, it's gonna be like the treasuries. So like 10% of them are going to understand what they have, and the other 90% are going to dump all their Bitcoin because they're terrified of their 100%. Shareholders getting mad. And it's like, that's going to be where we have a capitulation. MSTR might be okay because they're so far ahead, but for most of them, they don't even know if they hold. Great points there as well, based on the M2 thing. I thought that was so funny. But Steve, I think we have I think at least we have Steve back with us. So I want to pull his chart because I saw some movement on his charts and I couldn't hear him previously. So Steve, if you're with us,
is it
good? Yep, I can hear you now.
Oh. No. I was pretty much just looking at take profits on my long, to be honest.
Dude, give us the update. This is live trading technically as well. We'll try and make it a more live trading component next time. But let me know what's the trade, how did it play out?
Well, basically for Bitcoin, we do have liquidity obviously to the downside as well. Still, if I'm looking at lower time frame charts, so I'm a little off topic when it comes to that because again, I really trade some wicks and I trade more liquidity just looking at candlesticks really. So if I see long candlesticks to some certain direction, that's usually where you see the most liquidity that needs to be tagged. For example, if I'm looking at let's say if I'm looking at Bitcoin back when we had that FOMC back then in when was this, in July, we had this massive wick to the downside again. Like I always talk with FOMC, first move's the real move.
I love that. That's a great comment.
Yeah, Powell came up on stage. We dumped. Then with the couple days after we pumped, we saw pure liquidity grab to the upside, taking the wicks here, and all liquidity was staying to the upside. Then the real move was the downside, 19K to 113. So again, we see time and time again that usually liquidity wicks is something that's pretty accurate. Let's say with Tony's case back in January when he was calling a top with Bitcoin, even me as well, that was one of my biggest like shorts I had this whole cycle. And again, same thing. We see all that liquidity piling up to the downside. You see all these massive wicks. Usually that's where stop losses are completely piling up. So we see usually some time where you're going to see some type of stop loss get completely hunted, especially like, again, we saw a wick here. It's going to come down to that point. And then when we see that whole filling coming in, we're going to see some reversal and start tagging the higher liquidity basically. So again, that's kind of one thing I'm looking at. So yeah, we are in a liquidity range. I think especially for Ethereum, I was looking at taking some profits on my short around here when we were taking the upside movement around here. I was looking to take some type of profits on my long on Ethereum and as well as XRP. I would love to see that $3 signal come in, but still taking as we go up. But one thing I want to say is, especially for what Bits was saying with Gold XAU, I thought that was the classic Bits troll that he was gonna say, I buy the top and sell the bottom. So that's why I cut in front right away.
Oh, I see.
Uh,
I see now.
Yeah, but to be honest, as far as let's say for Bitcoin Gold, because I'm pairing Bitcoin to XAU, which is basically the index of gold and silver combined. So I look at that chart a lot.
Mm.
And again, with that MVRV marking the undervalued, one thing, let's say Bits was saying, I'm trying to find a bottom where we're seeing like most people are trying to see that structure break. But even as far as Bits is analysis, and I think everyone's analysis, Tony as well, when we're seeing bloodbath, let's say when Bitcoin went into a bear market let's say we were in 40K, we saw that breakdown. When we're seeing a complete bloodbath, most traders, especially most analysts, are going to start looking for some type of buying opportunity more than a selling opportunity, of course. Because when the move is already playing out and when you're seeing a lot of blood come in, as a trader, you're not the type of trader to, let's say, enter a short here or start selling everything here when we're already seeing that complete blood movement. I'm trying to see where we could see that bottom and what type of support I'm trying to see. So I think most of us could agree on that, really. Let's say when Bitcoin last bear market was at 20K, 30K, I'm not trying to look for a short to bring it to zero, right? I'm trying to see where we could bottom before anything because the move's already playing out, for example, you know what I mean? So let's say as we're all looking at, like, let's say Bitcoin trying to get that structure shift, time clock is ticking on the 4-year cycle. We're trying to mark that top and print on shorts, but we're all, to be honest, that's the right side of the move to be looking at because you're not trying to enter a short in red. You're trying to get where most are greedy. It's green candles everywhere. Euphoria is everywhere. No one's taking profits on anything. That's when you're trying to look short, not trying to enter longs and trying to bid at the complete tops and then get just stuck bag holding. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to see where this Bitcoin gold chart is trying to like bottom really. I think it's pretty smart to do so, but I think this MVRV is pretty like approaching that undervalue that we had at 15K. So obviously that's one thing I'm trying to look at as well. I'm also curious on Bits or even anyone in this chat. Really, I'm curious on everyone's USDT dominance charts, what they're thinking on that. Like, are you guys thinking USD dominance is going to break those highs that we had back in March? Like, because let's say we go into a bear market, USD dominance could easily even break its all-time high on a bear market. So I'm trying to wonder what you guys are thinking on that. Because even USD dominance, again, I trade Wix. We do have a lot of liquidity to the downside that could be taken, especially on the weekly and the monthly chart. We have some, especially to the upside. So kind of both sides is liquidity-wise. I'm trying to see which one would get taken first. We saw that deviation to the upside. That was pretty bearish here, which is why I went long really on XRP and like the whole market. I was kind of looking at USD dominance mainly. But I'm curious if you guys think we're going to see USD dominance break its low or like rise up into a bear. That's what I'm kind of wondering what everyone else is thinking. I don't know if anyone could comment on that.
Yeah, that's one that I talk about a lot as well. And I know Bad Price looks at it as well. I've got it pulled up right now, Kate, if you want to swap it over. But I think that's the question. I think Steve's asking the right question. So if we look at this entire range here, this has basically been our bull market this time around, right? After we came down below this level, these have been the tops down here, and then these have been the bottoms of the crypto market up here. We're kind of right in the middle of that. And this is the first time that since we've been in this range, it's built some kind of like support here for as long as it's been in here. Typically, if you look back, anytime that we've kind of moved into this green zone that I have here, and I'll take off some of the drawings, but every time it's usually it falls through it, and then it'll go sideways below it, and then it'll pop right back above it and chop above it. It doesn't really like to chop inside of this zone. And you can see that, it did that back here. This was March of last year. So March 2024, right? We had that top, and then crypto market went sideways basically for 7-8 months, formed a bottom. And then we pumped into December, January, right? Back here again, same level as before, another top. This was also one of those charts that helped me really lean into a pullback after January, December, because we were at the same levels, even though on BTC had continued going higher, and you didn't really have anything to the left that you could say, okay, there should be resistance up here somewhere. This chart was telling us that there should have been support here because previously there was support. So I was able to lean into a higher probability that it was going to stall, right? So that's why I like using this. It has its own structure, even though it moves inverse to crypto. This has its own structure and it does give you an edge, in my opinion. Then when we had the pullback, that pullback in April came back to exactly where, the exact same place that it found resistance here last time. So that also should have given you a level of edge or confidence that it was going to find some type of low here and that the market was going to be able to push back up, right? So keep in mind, this stablecoin dominance is inverted to crypto. Crypto looks like that. Stablecoin looks like this. They're inverse, right?
Exactly.
So
because you're holding one or the other.
Yeah, you're holding one or the other. And so my question is, are we forming a higher low here for the first time with stablecoin dominance? And if that is the case, then that is telling you that crypto is forming its lower high, which is what the gold Bitcoin chart is telling us. It's what the gold total crypto market cap is telling us. We're seeing a lot of lower high signs. This thing is adding to that confluence, saying that it potentially could be finding a lower high here. So I don't know, like, it's just something to watch. If it does, then I'm watching back kind of in this range again to see if it can find some resistance. And if it does, that's probably going to be a low for crypto. And then you'll want to see, okay, if crypto can find a bounce, how deep is that next little pullback going to go? Is it just going to come back into the green again? Or is there a scenario where we come back here down into this lower extension, which is where we've seen the March 2024 top out, and then we saw December, January top out. So I don't know. I'm watching it. I don't have the answer just yet, but to me, like, this helps me understand what's potentially happening there.
Let's go to a couple comments here. I see Slick Rick is in the house. He says, my guy Bits. Slick Rick is in the house. And he also says, give us a Sol update. So I want to go to Popeye first. We get his comments on USDT dominance. And he also got a trade update. And then I'd love if anyone wants to jump in and give us some Sol comments, or if anyone wants to stay on the USDT dominance. I'm not sure who has comments they want to give on it. But if you do, maybe just say like I or something like that in the private chat, just so I know if you have a comment that you want to throw in there.
I think the USDT dominance, it's pretty trap here, so it's really on night time frame. On night time frame, still downtrending because I mean, we had this massive move up and then it clearly broke down. And as long as we are below this level, I have to assume and to accept the fact that this look clearly as a downtrend. But I think the level are clear. I mean, this is the resistance that is capping, and this is potentially support. I would give less weight on this part, on the structure. I mean, I can see the possibility that this is a fresh higher low, but this really looks like a sideways price action. So whatever is within these two levels, it's a very wide range, but whatever is within these two levels, from my system, at least for my style, is not really much depending on structure, on highs or lows, but is really some sideways. Then how this will result will give us the solution to this. As this resulted to the downside, we have to see how this is breaking. Just wanted to go a little bit more on the trading side, on some low time frame possibility for this week. As we were saying, to give some live trading here locally, I think we are a little bit on no man's land, and I think the recent price action is pretty interesting because we did have a classic range environment where we create a swing high, swing low, then we range it for a bit, and you can see how mid range is well respected in this range. Typical deviation below, sweep of the highs, and then price broke down. So this level is somehow a key level where we lost this previous range. We got a couple of bearish retests, and then we finally broke down. Exactly same playbook. We form a swing high, swing low. We got a little deviation to the downside. Mid-range, very well respected, as it was here, as it is here. So very, very nice confluence to define the range. And once again, a sweep of the high and then broken down. The difference is that now we are not breaking down from the range, but we exactly bounced from range low. So as you can see, this swing low here as a range low is holding very well. So in a purely range environment, I can see these two levels for potential trade on the coming days, even tomorrow. And also want to point out how divergence were spot on this environment. So every time we got a reversal, there was some sort of divergence. So here we had a bullish divergence, here we had a bearish divergence. Once again, here at the bottom, bullish divergence, bearish divergence, once again bullish divergence here down. So I think what let's say, not really in the prediction business, but if once again we reach this supply and start to form something like this with an overbought in overbought territory here, in overbought territory here with some sort of divergence, this I think would be a good trigger tonight or tomorrow for a short, and potentially looking for this level once again, if this 50 level in RSI holds for a possible bounce. If you can see, the 4-hour RSI has been really spot on lately on Bitcoin, and especially the 50 level. So as you can see, the 50 level was always respected to the above on the upper move, and always respected very clearly on the move to the downside. So if now we can get a scalp short on this level with a bearish divergence here on supply, then potentially a little bullish continuation on the 50 level here on the RSI. I think on this range environment, RSI is it's really a powerful tool, especially if used in the proper level on the range.
Interesting. Okay, this is cool. Also, I was going to say, I'm not sure if you do, if any of the traders want to give any comments, by the way, feel free to just hop in. I'm not sure if Tony, Don, Steve, Bits, or Price, if you guys want to give any comments on Popeye's trade, or if you want to continue on USD comments, all good. I just want to make sure everyone's good on time. I'm down to wrap in a few minutes, by the way, or if we need to keep going, I'm good for either one, but I just want to make sure, because I don't have hands on stream, so I don't have like a better way to like ask it.
I think somebody was asking about Sol, if you want.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I just didn't know who wants to take a stab at that one. So, Tony, okay, let's go to real quick. Let's go to Tony's screen. I see his here. 2 seconds. If I can move this one, we'll bring up Tony's here. I'd love to see what he's got, and then if anyone wants to take a stab at the Solana question from Mr. Slick Rick, we'll go to that here in a second here. But yeah, man, I see Johnny in here. Johnny talking about RTY macro. Let's get it. I'm telling you, X is where you find the coolest people. X is the only place left. I'm serious, dude. TikTok has been sold. I don't trust Instagram anymore. I don't update Facebook. X is the only place left. I'm telling you, this is where you find the coolest people. And if you haven't already, please do repost the stream. Follow the speakers up here. Follow these traders. They're legends. Again, appreciate all you guys for coming through. Tony.
Yeah, so someone earlier mentioned curve fitting, and I just wanted to show this chart. It's a very hated chart, and I want to be honest, it's completely curve fit. I drew this across this and just lined up the tops. But let's be real, it lines up across these cyclical peaks like absolutely perfectly. At one point back in January, I had it more drawn like this, and clearly I've curved fitted again. But you know what I mean? Like there's definitely people want to write it off because it's not really like mathematically sound, which I get, statisticians and stuff, they're not going to like this, but to me, it is what it is. Clearly price met resistance at all these points, came back down. And if that's the case, it does leaves very little room to the upside and more room to the downside. Someone else also mentioned the highest monthly close. And I also just wanted to bring up that this is the highest quarterly close on Bitcoin ever. But this is a nasty looking candlestick here. It's kind of a shooting star. We're right at these other peaks in terms of momentum. And then I'm going to turn on the TD sequential indicator real quick. And we got the perfected TD9 here at the top of the 2017 rally. We got a perfected TD9 last quarter. This quarter is now, again, shooting star. And we get this TD risk dot right here. What's significant about that for me is we had these TD risk dots here. And it took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like almost 3.5 or so years, almost 4 years before this TD risk was ever tagged again. So, we follow a similar pattern. We could see 4 years before we ever get back to these prices if momentum begins to turn down.
Isn't there a cycle in crypto that takes approximately 4 years, Tony? I can't remember. I think everyone talks about like this. There's some kind of like historical cycle that like things top and then it takes like 4 years for them to come back to those levels or something. I don't know. Maybe I'm just,
there's just, there's so much stuff out there. So
Lady Trader talks about a 5-year cycle. That's the only thing I've heard.
That's an interesting one. 5 years. Yeah, and so going further, someone brought up the lower highs and higher lows things, and I want to point out that Ethereum has already made a lower high and lower low against gold. So we just made another lower high. Does this then continue down here or something like that? That said, though, devil's advocate, we are kind of finding support right here at an important zone. So really anything is possible yet again. And the reason why I kind of jumped into this is I did want to show gold. So I don't think gold has topped out 100%. I think we'd want to see some sort of a divergence in momentum first. But let's be real. This is the highest relative strength index reading on the monthly in gold since January of 1980. So older than I am, 45 years in the making. Gold has not been this strong since. So most of us haven't seen this in our entire lifetime. It's definitely something really interesting. If you can see here, these final moves up in gold tend to be like pretty sharp. We may be seeing something like that now where gold then cools off. If that does happen, that could change these, gold denominated asset charts very quickly. So again, just really kind of speaking to the whole anything is possible sort of setup. And then lastly, I just wanted to show, the gold is clearly doing well. It's priced in dollars. Bitcoin is priced in dollars. Bitcoin historically does well when the DXY, dollar currency index, is in a corrective phase. Now, we just left our longest corrective phase. And we may still be in a corrective phase. This may keep going and Bitcoin could keep going up. But, this is the longest corrective phase. I feel like it's potentially ended thanks to this bullish engulfing candle. It's a really strong signal. And as you can see, we wicked below it, but, kind of establishing some support right here. If this starts to move up and we go, Bitcoin could become corrective and come into one of these bear markets. So, just another thing to consider is that even if gold does sort of cool off and that helps fix the Bitcoin versus gold chart, Bitcoin versus USD could start to kind of roll over as well. And one other signal I'm looking at, and I always talk about on Market Talk, is the LMACD on the monthly time frame. In Bitcoin, it opened bearish for this month. So if price doesn't close I think it's above 116K, we're going to get a confirmed bearish crossover on the LMACD on the BTC USD monthly. So, to me, it's showing a lot of signs that we may be moving to a bear market, whether you're pricing it in USD or you're pricing in gold. And again, it kind of fits back to this where, really, maybe this really is it and there's no more room to go higher for now.
Hey, Tony, on that gold with the RSI chart that you just showed a little while ago. Yeah. What has happened every time that gold has had that top to equity markets? What has happened to S&P? Like if you go back and you look at that one from back in 79 or whatever, and then you look at the other one from 2012-ish is kind of what it looks like for maybe 2013.
Throw it on there and let's take a look. I'm going to throw it in the log just so we can see it a little bit more differently.
Yep.
So,
ooh, exactly what I thought we were going to see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting.
It's interesting. There's not a flat pattern yet, but
no. Yeah.
But if you look at the peak back from 79, 80, it looked like it threw it into a bit of a correction after a little bit of time, for a little bit. So
Yep.
I also saw a question for Dom talking about XRP high time frame. Dom, is that what you're asking about?
Yeah, I was just curious. I know Tony's talked about XRP a lot over the last few years. I just was curious if he had any, higher time frame thoughts on it.
Yeah. So, it's a tough one for me. It could have satisfied its 5 waves in terms of Elliott wave theory. But, I had always previously had targets between like $8 and $12. And with that not being met, I do feel like it probably has room. But I mean, let's be realistic. If Bitcoin does peak it's really difficult to imagine a situation where XRP really does all that well or anything like that. So I did sort of map out one particular corrective move that could possibly happen, an expanded flat, take us down to just a few bucks or something like that. I don't know, though. That doesn't really feel right to me. Instead, another situation is, this could be 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is 5 over here. If I remove all this sort of mess, this could be our 5th wave. I don't necessarily think so. It could be impulsive, but in Elliott wave principle, the wave 5 does not have to go significantly beyond that of wave 3. So even here, we did get above, our former all-time high. This is our wave 3. Wave 5 didn't really go significantly beyond it. So there are some signs that even XRP could technically be over. Doesn't really make a ton of sense to me. I still am of the mindset that we have one more move up in it, and it's just gonna, it's gonna do something like this. So we just got to get back above 70 on a monthly basis, and I think we'll probably get one more spike up, but that's the sell signal. You know what I mean? I think that's the trigger to get out of the market. But I don't know, a bearish Bitcoin, how does an XRP do really well, or these other altcoins whose charts are looking a little bit better? How do they do well if Bitcoin's falling and, people are starting to get fearful that the financial system's coming apart? So
just tell them, Tony, if it loses $2 in any kind of sustained way, it's going to like 50 cents. Just tell them.
That's probably accurate. At least $1, under $1. I think, yeah.
Dang.
There's nothing between like 50 cents and $2 on
it moved
on a
fast.
high time frame.
It did move fast. That's actually interesting. Dom, do you have any, like, I don't know if you have any comments back. I know you're also tracking XRP. I imagine that's why you were curious. But if not, we can jump into the Solana stuff as well. I know that was a question we had from Slick Rick. But yeah, Dom.
Yeah, I don't have any charts pulled up, but I mean, I would agree with Tony. I mean, if Bitcoin has put in some type of top, I don't see XRP going higher. I mean, that's an absolute, I think, a given there. But I would agree with him as well that, you look at that chart, 7 years, came back to all-time high to do not really much more. It doesn't add up fully from all my chart experience. So, I guess that is of the hope that we do see a little, maybe 2-month little crazy, end of the year, and maybe XRP can get itself to $5-6 or something like that. So, yeah, I think it really is going to depend on everything we talked about here today.
Yeah, I love this. And I think all 3 of the guys, I see Steve, Fitz, and Price getting active on these charts in here. I know for sure I saw Steve. He was either trading or something, but Steve or Biss or Price, did you guys want to give any thoughts on Solana? And then we could probably wrap from there. I think it's really been an awesome conversation here. And Slick Rick, we did not forget, we are going to get to the Solana conversation. Emp, yes, number go up until dead, or number go up still dead. Yeah, I'll say if you watch this stream, you're not gonna exactly be loading up spot positions into Bitcoin probably, but we're definitely, I think Tony said it well, we're uncomfortable at this point. It's not sure where to feel. I think uncomfortable is a good word to use if you're a trader. Steve, did you want to take a stab at it first, and then we can see if Bits or Price wants to also look at Solana?
Yeah, I could talk about Sol.
Bits told me we're cooked. Just said. That is hilarious. All right, hold on. I gotta pull up Steve's chart. 1 second. Remove. There we go. We go to Steve. Nope, I gotta remove one. There we go. All right, Steve. I think we got yours, right? There we go.
Yeah. So basically, Sol is kind of like every other altcoin for me. I'm charting every altcoin really like kind of all the same type of charts. They're all tagging the same liquidity wise. So let's say if I'm looking at total, for example, like a reason why I went long on the market, like I said, I'm really trying to find the liquidity levels and some places where most people's stop losses are that's where people get the most emotional. So like I was trying for Bitcoin, I was really trying to target liquidity wise. So back when we were talking about when FOMC came in and everything, and we were all saying, like, I know Price, Nat, Bits, like Tony, all of us, we were all talking about that this was a highly perp-driven pump. And by perp-driven pump, again, I always look at liquidity-wise. So liquidity, like if you look at candle wicks, you could kind of see how much liquidity is to a certain extent. So again, when I'm seeing a perp-driven pump, I'm trying to see where the longest wicks are. So let's say if I'm looking to the downside, we have massive wicks here, perp-driven on the 4-hour, massive wicks to the downside. These are all liquidity that should be taken on one point in time. So when I was full short around here, 118K, And I know Popeye was talking about that too, because we got that deviation above this high. We took liquidity above the highs, and the lows remain to be taken right after that, especially after FOMC closed off, being a more bearish move than bullish. So we took the whole downside anyways, and Bitcoin had that round off to the downside around 108K, taking most of the downside liquidity taken. There's not much reason to get much lower than this, which is why I was kind of bullish there, especially on total as well. We saw all that liquidity taken on the total chart as well. We took all the downside. And if I'm looking at Solana, for example, 190 was one target I was looking for a very long time. So Solana, we had that massive wick to the upside. We saw a full reversal, and there wasn't much liquidity left to be taken to the downside. The only time I was looking to add maybe spot, or for me personally, not spot. I was just a long if I was to do anything. And 190 was the area I was looking at the most, because this is the target that you had the most liquidity, where to the downside, we don't have that much that interesting to be taken. So 190, we're seeing that reversal right now. And if I'm looking at upside, we definitely see liquidity all the way up to 223, even as high as the all-time high, as the yearly high, if I would say the 253. So that's kind of, if I'm looking to see Solana, if we could get a push above this, I would look at 253. But to be honest, my first real resistance would be around 225. And if we see a reversal, I still think the more attractive liquidity would be here. And if we were to get that break, like we were talking about all stream, if we were to get that break at 190 to go lower, I think we have a clear break of structures. So as far as everything goes, let's say total 3, total 2, if we get a break under these lows when we took all the downside liquidity, a break under this is nothing short of bearish. And we have a very strong break of structure across the entire market. So the reversal was going to be here without a doubt. So the whole market reversing, everything's looking good bullish wise. XRP as well, like we were talking about with XRP, I think daily time frame, we should see at least these wicks so that $3 get filled. All these shorts should be stopped out around here. I would personally like to see 320 more than often get tagged before it's maybe seeing lower. But again, if we get some type of break and a push higher, I think we could see Solana, XRP, and all these altcoins pushing for the highs again. But any type of roundness around our liquidity levels, so let's say Solana at 220 in my eyes, and if we get some type of break of the recent low we just had, so that 108K Bitcoin, that Ethereum at 380, or Solana 190, XRP at 269, if we get some type of sweep of these lows, I think we have a very clear break of structure. So again, one thing I'm also looking at, we have that EMA hold as well on XRP all the way down that held us up since our breakout at 50 cents. And we had that bottom signal at 162, $2. This was a nice long I caught, but closed on that. If we get some type of price action around here at 230, it's still a buying signal in my eyes until we get a break of structure under this for XRP, and same thing for Solana. So if we get that break of structure under our EMA as well, that held us up around here, and we had that break under and reclaim above. So a break under 175 would be clear bear market targets for me and bear signals. So right now everything's looking good on low time frame. But again, we have very important levels coming in. If we see some type of reversal in our liquidity to the upside and we take the downside, then I'll start to get more bearish. But right now everything's kind of looking good. Longs are doing good. Nothing to be bearish about just yet, in my opinion.
Very nice. Got the soul update there. And by the way,
go ahead.
Bryce.
I was going to say, Kate, if you want to show my screen real quick,
I
just want to show something that Steve, like the level Steve was just talking about.
There we go. You're up now.
Yeah. So some of the levels he was talking about, what is it? He mentioned around the 224-ish.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We have, I think the largest one, is down here for liquidity. Back around the 190, 194, we're stacked around 180, obviously. But yeah, we just have to break through those before. So the question right now is, are we going to go grab the upside or the downside? I know price is currently right at the 9 EMA. I also have a resistance zone up around 223. Let's see, the open interest VWAP is around 185. Let me go back to this. Don't we have some levels around 185? Yeah, we're stacked up. So anyway, I just wanted to show what the actual heat map is looking like. And we do have you know, some liquidation levels way up here though, and way down here.
Oh, that's cool. I like that it shows that.
Yeah. So anyway, and then, you know, pay attention to funding rate. Right now, the funding rate's pretty low. So look at that with like short interest.
Beautiful. I appreciate that.
Anyway, yeah, just wanted to show how that kind of lines up with what Steve was showing.
That was cool. And by the way, Steve, didn't know if you wanted to, if you had more, but I also saw a couple comments here rolling in. I see Emp. I guess Emp right before Steve jumped in, he liked Tony's take, and got a big follow from Emp. Emp's a big guy. He's the host of Wolf Financial and one of the best futures traders I've met. He's a savage. That's a big follow right there. That's awesome. I see Slick Rick. He's ready for Bits' take. He wants to hear Bits' wealth thoughts on Solana.
Hey, how much are you paying this guy, Bits?
Dude, this guy.
Bits, what kind of deal
this guy
you
doesn't
got going
care
on?
about
It's his alt account. It's his spam account.
It's my spam account.
Yeah, you're over there on your other like screen, like asking yourself questions.
This is the best trader. Give him the mic.
That's hilarious,
dude. All right, let's do it. Let's do it. We got Bits of Wealth, the Solana chart. This is the one everyone wants. Here we go.
Yeah, look, this to me, it's like it's pretty straightforward, and at the same time, I like to kind of tell a story when I'm looking at these charts. So I'm going to go through 3 different charts. But if we start with the Sol USD one, you know, it never fails, right? Everyone was saying we're going so much higher right as we kind of ran into prior levels that we've sold off at very significantly. So not surprised. This is part of the reason why, you know, my take profit was at 245 that we talked about forever. I think Bad Price actually did like 248 or close to 250. So he was looking in that same general region, but this is a key level. You've got major weekly closes here previously for Solana up here in this 250 range. And actually Solana, if you look at it like on a monthly time frame, this current month candle is very wicky to the upside, very, very wicky. But Sol is funny. Sol kind of has like an ongoing bit of a joke that people say never under 200 for Solana. What's interesting though is that if you look at Solana over a long time frame, on a high time frame, it's basically the opposite. It's like never over 200 really, because it's never really sustained above 200. This is the first time that it's actually having a high time frame candle that's hanging out up here. But we still have time. You know, you've got 2 months left or something like that in this next quarter, right? So we've got time here. It's a 90-day chart, but I guess what I'm trying to say with that is, like, look, I think you have to play Solana on low time frames. It's a very fun chart to trade. Anytime you move into these support zones, more often than not, it'll move straight into that next high time frame resistance zone. We saw that down here. All the opportunities you had to buy around 120, and it ran it up almost every single time up to like 190. Now that we're above that, though, I think it's the opposite. I think you've got a lot of opportunity to buy this 180 to 190 zone as support, and then see how high we can run it up. And then obviously with the intent of getting out of Solana in this upper range, and then waiting for a better buy opportunity. If you look at it on the lower time frames, my general targets for Sol is like, okay, look, if it can kind of maintain some bullish structure here, and if it doesn't take a step back, as Dom says, there's a big imbalance up here. You've got these high time frame, low volume nodes on the volume profile, 222 and 230-ish that I'll be paying attention to. There's also some structural reasons why price could be moving up here as well. But it needs to make sure it maintains this structure. If it breaks this in any way, then maybe there is another leg down. But part of the story that I like to tell with Sol is, you know, a lot of people I think are expecting so much higher, but you know, this thing was selling at under $10 at the lows, right? You were able to buy it at under $10 and it went up as high as like almost $300 at the highs, right? So I don't know if this high is going to be taken. As a matter of fact, I've actually kind of leaned into it that I think this is the top for Sol, and unless we have a massive altcoin rally and everything just continues so much higher and all of the bearishness across all the charts is invalidated and we're just going to print like we have in the past for like a parabolic final top, I don't know if it's going to come up and challenge this. We keep kind of seeing that Sol is showing a little bit of weakness here. Now, let me show you why I'm saying that as well. So if you look at Sol against BTC, right? Because this is the natural thing you should do is I'm going to compare my altcoin against Bitcoin. Because if it's not performing, if it's not outperforming Bitcoin, then why should I be in this altcoin?
This is the telling chart.
Exactly. So you look here, and Solana, when it was outperforming BTC, it was holding this as a floor, right? So basically, this was the low here for Sol in terms of its BTC pairing. After it had done all this accumulation, it got an impulse up here back in like October of 23, and since then it outperformed BTC in a really big way. This was massive outperformance against Bitcoin. And then it was basically up here just going sideways, chopping against it for pretty much all of last year. We have a very clear break of this structure here at this point, and then we've now got a rejection from that same floor back then that was essentially the floor for Sol. Can this still come back up and then reclaim all of this? Yes, it 100% can. But you have to, if you're taking it level by level, this is an area that is now showing us that is likely to reject, or at least potentially to reject, until you see some type of big strength come in and you can flip that back into support. So that's the current task in terms of the BTC pairing. So you might say, okay, well, what about against Ethereum, right? Because if we look at ETH, there's an argument to be made here that ETH is potentially going to outperform BTC for a little bit if it can hold this like yearly open level, right? This is like important structure for ETH BTC. You can see where it's flipped it in the past, right? Resistance, support, resistance. We're now trying to flip that potentially back into support. So if ETH can do this, and ETH can hold this rough zone, and it can hold the yearly open, in my opinion, ETH BTC could make a run higher, right? This would be that potential altcoin season indicator, right? You see ETH BTC move, and then maybe some of the other alts start moving with that. Okay, so if that's the case, and ETH is going to be the outperformer, so then let's look at Sol ETH. Okay, now when you look at Sol ETH, very clear high time frame zone as well, right? Rejection, right? Resistance, got above it, supported until it didn't. So same thing as Sol BTC. I'm seeing here that Solana is pushing back into a key level that previously was support for the duration of Sol's upside. This was like Solana's meme season when it made that run to 300, when all the Sol ecosystem was flying. This happened above this level here. Just like on Sol BTC, it happened above this level here.
Oh, I see.
All of the bullishness happened above that. Okay. We're now below that, both against ETH and against BTC. Now, my general thesis has been that, and this, I've had like a little squiggly line somewhere in here. But I've basically said, I can't remember which one it was. God. Okay, fair enough. That the breakdown was going to eventually give us a bearish retest of this level. And I think that that's what's happening. I actually think that that's what's currently happening for Sol against Ethereum. So I'm just having a hard time finding a picture or a case where Solana is bullish and is going to go significantly higher, because I don't see it on the Sol USD chart. I don't see it on the Sol BTC chart. I don't see it on the Sol ETH chart. I've not looked at Sol Gold recently, but I'd imagine I'm not going to see it there as well. So, I just think that a lot of people are just, you want to be bullish on Solana because everyone's talking about this thing was at $10 and it went to 300. Yeah, the trade was at $10. Like, that's the problem. The trade was at $10, not up here. It's spent. If you go to a high time frame chart, like even that 90-day chart, it's just historically not spent enough time above 200 for you to say that there's any kind of price acceptance above 200. If anything, this tells you very clearly that anytime you get above 200 is a great opportunity to take profits and get out.
I was going to say you're capped at a 2x basically with Solana.
Basically, yeah.
Yo, can I tag in on just one thing on that point?
Yeah, you want your
go for
screen?
Yeah, no, I just want to show something like
Sure. Let me pull it up.
Sol.
There we go.
Okay, yeah, Solana and ETH, easiest charts, man. Like, they're like on Bits's point, especially if you're looking for like long-term plays or whatever, right? So really, we've just been trading in one big range. It's pretty much what Bits is saying. Like, if you used this fixed range profile, right, which is what you should be paying attention to right here. Anytime price has gone under volume area low, good longs, right? Yeah, every time it's gone above, which is around 200, 199. Yeah, good shorts. Anyway, we came down and we tested the value area high, and it's holding. So I went really get too full blown panic unless like we break that, right?
Yep, agreed.
Yeah, obviously you don't even need to draw like a trend line. You can see like the trend right here. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that 9 EMA, we're running right into that right now. So a rejection right here, wouldn't shock me if we come back down. But again, that's kind of the level I'd look,
to buy,
to be holding.
Right? Yeah, that's
well, the value area high, I'm saying I wouldn't get full blown panic mode unless like we really break under that. And there's other things that kind of line up with it. Like I got a weekly support zone that is kind of weak, but it lines dead up with it. And 210 was kind of my target on this move on the long that I was in. And we got it. Next, I got resistance around 220, 223. But ETH looks pretty much the same thing, right? Like we've just been trading in one big range. Like if you just zoom out and look, we've just been trading in a big ass range.
What are your thoughts, Steve?
Soul over gold even looks corrective, to be honest. I just pulled it up.
Maybe it was bits. Hold on. Let me pull them up.
I don't have any markings on the chart to share, but I mean, the naked chart, even this structure here, just kind of looks a little bit corrective. Just a lot of overlapping, So we'll see if this thing rejects off here. Look, what you had a prior support there. Then there could be one more leg down here.
So. Bits. I have a question for you because you were saying you were looking at ETH to Bitcoin chart, and you were saying, let's say ETH starts outperforming the market, and you see ETH Bitcoin bottom. I don't really have a chart, Kate. It was really just a question for Bits. Let's say ETH outperforms Bitcoin. Let's say you see that Sol underperform Ethereum, right? I know there's a chart we're looking at a lot. What do you think of others ETH? Looking at that signal right now, because if others just start outperforming Ethereum, these altcoins will really run. If you're saying like if Ethereum will outperform the rest of the market, you're still looking at that others ETH chart, no?
Yeah, I always have. This is like when I have all my market cap charts. That's one of them. So here, this is others by itself.
Text just said, "What are we shorting?" Jim Crayer says to buy Bitcoin or buy crypto.
No, you got to be careful with with Kramer recently. I was having a conversation with Lady Trader about this, but it's like they condition you to use them as counter indicators until it stops, and then it fails in a magnificent way. So be careful. He's if you go back and you look at some of Kramer's recent calls, he's actually been on the right side of it, as funny as it is. People counter trade him, and then the market actually moves where he was kind of saying. But others ETH. Yeah, I mean, it's still kind of finding a bounce here. I just, I don't know that it's completely done, but this is, like we've said, this is kind of an interesting range where not surprised that it's kind of finding a little bit of a low here. I think you probably see the same thing if you looked at like total 3 over Ethereum, very similar looking chart. But what's interesting is this low never came out to take out this down here, right? So, if you're talking about potential like liquidity below here, I absolutely would think that there is.
Very nice. Very nice.
Even in terms of let's say total 3 to ETH, because that chart's like a little different, but that's like extremely tanked. Like I don't know if you can see that chart.
Yeah,
because that chart as well. Like if we're seeing ETH outperform the market again sometime this cycle, look at total 3 ETH. It's like, is that going to come lower? Look at exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it found, and interestingly enough, it was right here, right at this level from end of 2024, right? It bounced right on it. So, yeah, dude, I don't know. I think like we'll really need to wait to see if ETH BTC can find some support, and then if it does, then I think we'll have a lot more to kind of gather from these, right? Because right now, if ETH BTC rolls over, then I don't know that it makes sense to be looking at these against ETH. We would really want to look at them against BTC.
Yeah, no doubt.
Right?
Yeah, if it rolls over, of course these alts are gonna take the biggest beating ever. But if it doesn't, I'm not gonna these really took a beating, these alts, and it's like we're seeing the bounce right now that you're seeing on the chart. So I'm wondering, is this gonna bounce way higher? We're gonna see these altcoins completely rallying. If we see
that would be if that happened, dude. Lady Trader would be absolutely insufferable. She comes to this case. Not only was she right, but altcoins are pumping too. Oh my god. Be over, dude. Be over for all of us. We would not.
She's
be able
in
to
those
recover.
low caps and the memes and
I
stuff. So
know,
if we
dude.
see that, she's hitting 100x, 200x.
Well, she's been buying since the very bottom of the bear market. So I know she's probably underwater in some positions, but then there are some positions that are, no matter what, she's up still like insanely on some of these because she buys everything. Like she's buying Solana, she's buying some of the bigger caps, she's buying the micro caps, the gaming. Like I'm sure some of them did terribly, but I'm sure a few of them have cooked. Look, we've been going for a couple hours here. I want to say, well, first off, big shout to you guys for coming through. Popeye left 15 minutes ago, but Price, Bits, Steve, Dom, Tony, appreciate you guys for coming. This is awesome. Not sure. Again, we'll have to figure out exactly the format. You know, what number of people on the panel makes the most sense, how long makes the most sense, and because I want to find something that's sustainable. I want something that's not going to be draining for the rest of the day. Like sometimes you go 2-3 hours into a stream, you wrap that one up, and you close your laptop, and you're like, and you're dead.